federal building who was Sikh, and she wanted to carry her Gurcharn, is that Gurcharn? Okay, into the building, and of course, no weapons allowed in the federal office building or whatever, and so lost her job, and it's being litigated right now, I think, still. So these are issues that we're still trying to figure out how to deal with here in America, and we still haven't really gotten to the place where we're giving that kind of freedom.
But I suspect that in the office where she worked, there were scissors that were larger and sharper and more dangerous than the Gurcharn.
Which was
because that's an issue in schools with school teachers as well. Now there was a case back in the 90s when I first moved out from New York, and there was a settlement that allowed Sikhs attending the California public schools to wear the Gurcharn. I don't know if that's still happening or if that has changed, but that was a case that was settled. For Seventh-day, just to kind of keep the discussion going, Steve, for Seventh-day Adventists, the primary experience of discrimination has to do with our Sabbath observance. That's really the thing that affects us. And so, just to kind of tell one story, a case that is going to be going to a hearing the end of next month, involves a part-time postal clerk working in the Lindsay Post Office in Central California. And, he joined the Adventist Church back in about 2004, 2005, I think, was when he first asked for religious accommodation. And I've been working with him for the last 8 years, on and off. Our office has been working with him, and there's been several different cases over the course of time. But for most of that time, he would compromise, and he would work on Sabbath, but he was able, for different periods of time, to have most of his Sabbaths off, and only have to work maybe a few each year. By the fall of 2011, Philip came to the place where he just was not willing to violate his faith any longer, and he told the management there, I just can't do it anymore. It's not right, and he wanted to be accommodated for Sabbath consistently. Well, the first thing they did was to schedule him to work several Saturdays, and then to write him up when he didn't come to work and fire him. Now, because he was a veteran, they hadn't given him the proper notice, and so they had to put him back to work. It didn't stick. But, thinking about it as we sit here today, the post office doesn't fire you for missing just a few days of work. You have to have really bad attendance problems. So then, he's able to get off of Saturdays most of the time, and he goes until June of last year before he's scheduled again. And at that time, the other clerk was off on vacation, and so he was going to be scheduled for 3 Saturdays, but the clerk got sick, and so they scheduled him for 4 Saturdays, and they kept writing him up and fired him for not working 4 days. Now, mind you, they had called other people in to work, and the work got covered, and it really wasn't any problem for the post office. But, so what we're going to a hearing about is whether whether this is religious discrimination or not. And of course, the management of the post office insists that they did right, that they accommodated him, as best they could most of the time, and that they were entitled to fire him for missing 4 days of work. And we actually, to show you how completely tone deaf and clueless these people are about discrimination. So we go into mediation, and we have a mediation scheduled, and it's scheduled they know about it for 6 weeks. For 6 weeks, they're looking to find a place for him to work, to put him back to work, to get this thing settled. They come to mediation, and they not only don't have a job to offer him, but they're not even willing to offer him a dime. Like, you agreed to go to mediation and you're not even going to make any offer? Never been to a mediation like that before. It was just completely ridiculous. Sometimes, you know, what I find is that government employers are the worst. Private employers are better in many cases, although we have lots of cases against private employers. But to me, this case seems, you know, especially egregious that somebody's fired for missing 4 days of work. Obviously, he was being targeted, you know, that, hey, if you're going to insist on every Saturday off, we're going to get rid of you. We can't have that here. And the post office, unfortunately, has been one of the most difficult work environments for Seventh-day Adventists because of their very difficult rules that they have as far as how they do things and how difficult it is to get accommodation. There's almost no time in the 20 years that I've been doing this that I have not had clients struggling with the post office, one of whom, you know, I met again here at this church today. So, yeah, well, thankfully, thanks to their problems, they're now going to stop routine Saturday delivery in August, and that will help some Seventh-day Adventists because there will be less, there'll still be some delivery of express mail and what have you, but there'll be less work to do, and so it will be somewhat easier for Adventists to get accommodated by the post office.
Interesting. Priest Chandra and Rakesh, tell us about your faith. Are there concerns that you folks have? I mean, what discrimination do you folks face in the Hindu faith here in America?
What I'm going to say now is positive, and that has been happened to you all already. So I'm saying these positive things. We are sometimes wrongfully assaulted physically or verbally, and even killed, which we all are aware of this. Nothing new. Few examples I'm saying includes. Also, you may have heard already about this, the one I'm going to say, or tell you. A Sikh man was cutting his front lawn in the morning time, where in Phoenix, Arizona. The time was approximately 8 o'clock. And then on a footwalk, a man was walking, white man, came by and shot him. That's in Phoenix, Arizona, not long ago. After that 9/11, this has happened in Phoenix, Arizona. Then, secondly, also this, my brother's Sikh and my brother's Islam, they know too, which is the second one has happened here. Two friends, Sikh people, here in El Grove, they were working, earrings, making in the evening time, walking around the block. And look, he'd been gunned down, just for nothing, because of his appearance. to my understanding, because of appearance of the Sikh man, one has been died instantly, another one ended up in hospital, and that being not caught, not bring to the justice. That was number 2. Number 3, in Wisconsin, Gurdwara, also this may be known by my brother Sikh people. In Gurdwara, where a man, gunmen came and shot them down. How many? 7 people. 7 of them killed instantly right in the Gurdwara, where all of them were there in the Gurdwara where practice their freedom of religion. These few examples I got, which we have seen naturally in our country. So these 3 things I got in my mind, which is positively happened here. Now, my brothers and sisters, you can consider yourself what's all been happened to us and which is right and which is wrong. We all human beings knows 2 things, right and wrong. But depends in which manner you take into the consideration. That's all I can say. Thank you.
So these things are recent events that have happened right here in our country.
Yes.
And these events, I think, they evoke fear, obviously, especially in the Sikh community and other communities that have experienced these things. I remember right after September 11, a lot of discrimination, a lot of hate crimes committed against Muslim people here in America, against Sikhs, against Hindus as well. I'm sure that I think for me, I'm not as sensitized to that, not being one of those of that faith, but these are real fears that you folks live with on a day-to-day basis sometimes. How about in your faith? Abdul, tell us about Muslim. What are some things that you guys see here in America still that are discriminatory, against your faith?
I'll go back.
Hold the microphone up close there.
We are free to worship as we like in America.
Yes.
I will go back before 9/11. Thank God that I won't even go farther back. Why do Muslims from other countries want to come to America? Because they share the value of America. Being a Muslim, the Bills of Rights, the first 10 Amendments, all that's what the Muslims believe in. Freedom of religion, freedom of the press, all that stuff. This is part of our belief. It's part of Islam. So what happened, and also I think close to 12 to 15 million Muslims live in the United States. They're not all from the Middle East or from Pakistan or from India. There are a lot of converts from this country. We got white, African American, now Spanish. That's the fastest growing right now today. We have Muslim people in Congress. We have city mayors, doctors, engineers, lawyers, you name it. Every position that exists, they're Muslims in this country. And they're a big part of this community. So what happened after 9/11? Muslim people got burned down alive. Like a good friend of mine, when Mr. was talking about it, in Dallas, I'll share this story with you. A friend of mine with 3 kids, they live in New Jersey for work. He moved to Dallas because he had another friend who had a gas station, so he could work. And this guy had an engineering degree. He was waiting to be hired by the state. So meantime, he needed a part-time job, so he's working at a gas station. 6 days later, after 9/11, 2 people came in a car and they said, "Oh, we can't start them. Can you come outside and help us pump the gas?" And naive as he was, customer courtesy, he went out And he tried, he goes, oh, here's on. And by the time he got there, it was on. They took the hose, they poured him down. The other one lit up a match and lit him on fire.
Terrible.
So these kind of events, so